Good morning. Welcome to Coloma News Network. I'm Temple Justice. As you know, we've been following this unbelievable story coming out of Galilee about the radical Rabbi Jesus and his followers who claim that he has come back to life after his execution. Our reporter, Willie Feinlove, has been embedded with the rabbi's followers for a couple of weeks now and is hopefully coming closer to exposing this hoax. I'm told he is currently near the seaport of Joppa. Let's go to him now. Willie, are you there?
Yes, good morning, Temple, and good morning to you. We've been with the disciples of this Jesus now for a few weeks, and some quite amazing things have been happening, actually. There are people that have been coming to them and being healed of all different kinds of ailments. And there was this event in Jerusalem as well, where one of their fellow disciples had been stoned to death, and so a lot of the people are in hiding, but they've been going out and teaching and healing and it's been quite remarkable to watch. I really can't explain it myself, but just to see evidently what magic the power these people have been given, and most recently we were in Lente and doing some work there, and these folks that have been following this Jesus have been kind of forming themselves into these small groups and meeting at people's houses and talking about it and sharing things in our scriptures that where the prophets point to this. At least that's what they claim. And this Rocky that I told you about last week, his really name is Simon, but they call him Rocky. And it's really, I'm still not quite sure why, because, well, I asked him about it, and he told me that sometimes, well, maybe he rushes to judgment. Sometimes he acts before he thinks. So maybe that's why they call him Rocky. I'm not sure.Maybe he's a little unsteady. But at other times, he seems so solid and so full of faith. And, you know, I asked him about the last time when this apparition met us on the seashore, and we had breakfast, and they said it was the risen Christ, and he talked with Rocky and asked him 3 different times if he loved him, and I asked him about that, and he kind of hung his head a little, and he said, well, when he had been arrested and hauled off, there were 3 different times when the authorities and people had said you were one of his disciples, and he said, no, I wasn't. And so he knew that this Jesus knew, or at least this person on the seashore knew, that he had said 3 times that he didn't know him. And so he had asked him 3 times if he loved him. And he felt not only sad, but somehow forgiven by being able to respond that way. And that kind of gave him new energy. And he's been going all over the countryside and talking to people and telling them about this radical rabbi. And people are believing the story. It just amazes me. Although I must admit that, you know, after my experience the last time, it was hard to deny that something was going on. And now, while we were in Lente, and he was healing some people came from Joppa, from the seaside there on the port at the Mediterranean, and asked us to come down there, and Peter went there, and they asked because this disciple, and they called her an apostle. They used the same word for her as they used for the men. Can you believe that? I mean, just to call her a real apostle, this just was amazing. And evidently she was a woman. Her name was Dorcas. Well, in Greek they call her Tabitha in Aramaic. But evidently evidently she had made clothes for the poor and used her resources to help those around her, and somehow probably because she was associating with people you just shouldn't really associate with, she got sick and she died. And everybody was really upset, and they were meeting at her house where they met to talk about Jesus, especially on the day after the Sabbath. And we went, and sure enough, she was, well, dead. And people were mourning and carrying on. Well, I don't know how to tell you this, Temple, but the most amazing thing happened. Peter went up into the room where she was, and we went up there and to see what was going on in the women, and I, you know, me and the cameraman, we went up there, and he reached down and touched her hand, and he said, "Tabitha, wake up." And her eyes opened, and she sat up. Well, we didn't know what to think, except that, you know, maybe this is just more of the same story. Except it seemed like everybody in town was in on it, because everybody in town thought she was dead, and they acted like she was really dead, and they acted very surprised and amazed, and were shouting hosannas and all kinds of things when she woke back up. So I don't know. You know, this is either a much larger conspiracy than all of us thought, or maybe something really happened. I don't know. I've never quite seen the like of it before.
Well, obviously, Lily, this is all part of a well-orchestrated hoax. She wasn't really dead, we all know that. It's just another publicity stunt to keep this story in the news. Well, like we would fall for that? Boy, I just don't know what they are thinking. Possibly it's some sort of sickness with death-like symptoms or side effects. Everyone knows we only report real news, not this made-up stuff just to get good ratings. You will get to the bottom of this, won't you, Lily?
Of course I will, Temple. I certainly will. This is Willie Finelove signing out. Back to you, Temple. I don't think she's going to like what we find out.
So, that's the news for this morning. Just more of the fantastic tales of the radical rabbi and his band of deluded followers. Will they ever learn? As always, we at CNN will stick to this story until the truth about this hoax is known, and those who are responsible will be exposed. Thank you for joining us. I'm Temple Justice, and this is Coloma News Network. When news breaks, we fix it.